Players start chorus at that time. Let's rush game mode. The record that. Okay. You get this time from doesn't need to know the time. So who needs to know? The game mode needs to know if the player crossed. Let's see, I'm gonna get controller. if you are character based, go forward, and it's character based. Checkpoint. Oh, and now player state should receive checkpoint ID. And now this is stick. Okay, so player state receives the time. That means the player controller can now get hot and Not player hot. I want to store this variable. So basically what I can say is like I want player state to check. I actually at the right checkpoint. Mm. Here I want okay. You're getting time on tick. This is on checkpoint. Okay, we'll reset checkpoint on reset drop checkpoint. Five seconds. After 5 seconds, we're gonna run this delay to open this. Okay. Unrecorded with checkpoint ID. Thanks. I mean, to be honest, the character art. Damn it, I forget the camera's pointing at the ceiling. Uh, Honestly, just a lot of time spent learning. Um, if you would actually want to pursue character art as a path, one thing I would highly recommend is first starting with. Well, I would highly recommend first starting with props. The reason why I always tell people to start with props is because as humans, we're really good at seeing when something is wrong with human body. That's why um, you might actually recognize some of these old adverts. I think it was Colgate or someone who won these adverts where, like, let's say character had, for example, 6 fingers, but you only saw issue with their teeth. Like, by default, we're extremely good at like spotting when something is wrong with faces, and we're also really good at seeing when someone's proportions are not really good. So the moment you ditch the concept of creating character and you start just creating simple assets, you strip that layer of complexity that allows you to focus on more technical aspects. So, you can learn your software, you can learn how the pipeline works. Once you have this aspect of pipeline mastered, I would say this is the moment where you should start learning anatomy and the low frequency to high frequency workflow for any sort of well any sort of work really, but especially for humans. As once you are at the level where you're comfortable creating something that resembles a person, this is where I think you can either go for some of these master classes, which are very hit or miss depending on how populated they are, or try to approach artists for one-on-one mentorship. Because one of the biggest difficulties in learning and sort of craft is that you don't really know what you don't know. So having a person who's much more experienced look at your work, be able to highlight what you made, where you made mistakes, and overpaint or oversculpt on them, fix these mistakes while you're actually on a call with them, is probably a single strongest way to learn, because then you can take that whole session and recreate it at your own pace in spare time, and that allows you to basically understand, oh, this is where I made mistake, oh, this is how that person did that, oh, now I understand why they did this. That was my path to learning it, and a bunch of my friends followed a very similar path as well. And from our experience, that's probably a single most efficient way to learn it. Whether it's most fun, I would not. say so. And it's also not the cheapest because mentorships are not inexpensive. They do cost some money, unless you know someone who actually works on that. I mean, there's quite a few games that did that. To be honest, that's I mean, hell, I suck balls at hard surface because that's such a different skill set. So yeah, I'm pretty sure most of the character artists sucks at hard surface. If you were to or architecture, oh my god, architecture is a nightmare. Like working with textures, atlases, and whatnot. Please don't make me do that. I dread the idea. Okay, we are getting checkpoint. We have checkpoint ID in here. But I figure, you know what? I learn how to do character art, and I'm gonna learn how to make games. And oh my god, this is so much harder. This is actually so much harder. Okay, in here, as a, I am setting player state on. Man, it is. It's the amount of shit you have to learn is. Yeah, I'm the opposite. I come from the art side and I'm trying to learn programming. And I actually enjoy it more than I would expect. But there are cases where I'm just sitting here and just bashing my head against the wall and thinking nothing fucking makes sense. Oh, so this should connect with that, what with this, but how do I? It's like, oh my god. It's actually painful. It is painful. Okay, so I want in here set where's player state? Player state. Um, last checkpoint ID. Let's call it last checkpoint for clarification. Oh yeah, I'm not doing tick operations anymore because I scrapped that. I mean, on like thing about programming is that you basically have two hurdles, I would say. First is learning syntax. Because learning syntax means you can't do anything until you learn how to write code. So yeah, it's almost like you're learning a new language. It's like it's no different like learning Spanish, although it's more simple. But then there's a case of understanding logic, and that by itself, in my opinion, is actually still quite straightforward. But then, in like game dev at least, you have to understand logic in a framework of an engine you're working with. So suddenly you have this like syntax combined with actual creating logic of the game while also not quite understanding how the engine operate at its core, and all these things together create this mishmash of knowledge that like it just hits you like an avalanche. At the same time, when you get stuff working, it does feel so rewarding. Although I did have a friend who was the most cocky piece of shit coder ever. That kind of jaded me to some of the programmers. You know these guys who claim that they're actually amazing and I think, no, I have itchy nose. It's so yeah, it's like, oh, like a programming Olympics. I want programming Olympics, and I'm so good, and everyone else is stupid. And it's like, bitch, you're not that special. Come on, I know you're not that special. Okay, finish checkpoint ID should be inside of a game state. Can I put game state in a world? Is game state an actor that has played? No. Game state is attached to game mode, so it automatically exists. If the game mode exists, that exists. Oh yeah, no, like honestly, game dev community is fucking wonderful. I'll be honest with you. Game like in general, it's probably. I mean, I will say it's a bit toxic in a sense that there's this big notion of ha ha ha. First thing you have to know about video game as an indie dev is that you will not finish your video game. You're glad. It's like, bitch, shut the fuck up. Like, you know, when people come into it and when they go to watch devlogs about it, it's usually because they realize it's fucking hard and they're trying to learn what not to do. Although I have noticed that like that trend is slowly starting to dwindle, which is a good thing, honestly. It's so infuriating to hear all these people. Most of the streamers, dev streamers that I'm watching are Unity. Although I know that is it Jedem? Jed? I forget how his fucking channel name goes. Really like the guy. He's a really good guy. Yeah, he's really cool guy. I like him a lot. Right. I wanted to move. Where's this? I had logic here counting total. I recognize Swashbuckling Fox. Um, which one is the Asian guy? The Asian guy that's like, this is my week 27 of 1 week project, something like that. What his trend name is always. He also seems to be quite nice, although he goes on a bit too many tangents, which irritates the fuck out of me. To be fair, but seems like a good guy. Okay, in here I'm going to store this checkpoint inside of a game state. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like he looks like a good guy. Okay, in here. Okay, what am I doing here? I am running. Okay, on game start, I go through all the checkpoints. What sort of game? I want to make something that blends game like Trackmania with something like recently released Haste. So actually, Apex Rush, there was a YouTuber that recently released also Apex Rush. Something in these within in this range of genres. I figure that's like a really good first project because it is more interesting than Flappy Bird, but at the same time, it still strips huge level of logic from likes of AI, networking, story, dialogue, inventory, data storage, and so on, right? So it does make it relatively simple. But also coming from art background, I can strip a lot of complexity from the levels, but still make it nice. Yeah, that's why I'm not doing vehicles. That's why I want to do it with a character movement. So for now, it's very simple movement system that is functional, but it's functional, but it's not what would be a good way to call it? Balanced, tailored. It's not fine-tuned. Oh, that's the word I'm looking for. I'm very much following the idea of just make it work first. Just like get everything working, and then I can fiddle with numbers and everything over time. But if I have functionality present, I can start working with that. Right. I want to store this data. Why am I? Wait, what am I doing? Finish checkpoint ID, checkpoint ID. For each. What am I doing in here? Okay. I'm checking if it's finished. Yeah, that's a good way to go about it. You just that rather than setting in here, I would rather have it set inside of a game state as total checkpoints. Okay, why is it not compiled? It is compiled. So this is a game state. Okay, this is not BP game state. So this is not reference to game state I'm using. Why? Because I am stupid. That explains it. As BP game state. Right. It will not work with different class. Uh, this is my third attempt at the prototype. The previous two, well, they crashed and burned, to put it nicely. The previous two, they've crashed and burned, unfortunately. But it's the case of, at like previous projects were quite early on as well, and I got into the point where I was like, okay, cool, what, this works, but now I need to learn rigging because I want to try implementing my character animations, and that took me like 4 months to learn rigging in Blender, which I haven't finished fully that course yet. I have to get back to it so I don't forget everything I've been learning. But now I'm like, okay, you know what? Also, the previous game used like enemies, AI, and so on. And after I spent some time revising the scope of the game, I figured, okay, I'm gonna make something much smaller, so I don't have to create entire set of animations for 10 characters and many player models and game logic and AI logic, billion weapons, balancing all this stuff later. Like, no, I'm just gonna try to keep it simple. Yeah, exactly. I've already been in this RevShare project that wanted to make, the next Sword Art Online. So learn the hard way, you could say. I love this project where a bunch of kids are like, oh yeah, let's make this new super complicated MMORPG with like photorealistic graphics and VR, and you're gonna have this unlimited world. And oh yeah, our programmer for gameplay, and he cannot work for the next 17 months. He has exams. Uh, never change. Fucking never change because it's such a meme. Okay, so I'm storing this data in game state. That's fine. That means I'll be able to later pull this data from game state inside of player. Which is not great thing to do, but okay, I guess I should just dispatch it to both. Player state and that, because game state should not really communicate with player state. Just a bit odd, but okay. But that doesn't, no, that doesn't make sense because otherwise I'm gonna have to be calling like, hey, you have this is variable, and then you're playing a telephone game. It's better to just dispatch it into two different into the two locations. Yeah, that makes more sense. Mm, I guess this can set this. That should be fine now. And now it's a clean. Now player knows how many checkpoints there is. Game state knows how many checkpoints there is. And game mode doesn't have to store anything. Game mode can just do the logic and nothing else. Honestly, wrapping your head around how Unreal is structured is a bit overwhelming. But I think most of the complexity comes from the fact that I'm pretty sure like most of people never go into it because you can pretty much have entire game logic in game mode, and I'm pretty sure game would still work. But because how Unreal is based around online infrastructure, basically the entire engine is built around server and client. So you have like player state, which is client. You have game state, which is player state, and game state, which is replicated, and game mode, which is basically on top, just doing all the calculations. Game mode is basically what server is in this case. It did took me longer than I expected to get that, but I think I'm finally starting to grasp it. Okay. If I want to reset current run player, run progress, I want to get as player. As player, I want to run. No, I have not. I'm not making on the multiplayer game really, so I'm well, it's more so I want to just have a correct structure, but I will look into it. Multiplayer compendium. Oh, okay. So Unreal does have some documentation. Oh, that's interesting. So it does have. Thanks, man. I have not actually seen that. That's great because this is what I've been tracking my head around all day. Oh, totally. That's the thing. Like I say, I'm not making multiplayer, but I still want to use a correct structure in case I would like to introduce multiplayer to the game in the future. Because that's what, for example, that's I know some games did that. Like Satisfactory did that, or Haste did that, where they didn't initially have it, but then they added that. And I'm pretty sure that unless I start making the game with a correct structure in mind at the start, it's going to be a shit show. Which god are able to spawn, like player, controller, state, and so on. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, this is only on server. Yeah, exactly, providing you have a good structure to accommodate it. Do we have teams or everyone's playing? Is everyone winning conditions? How are the kill points achieved? Characters used? I mean, there are games that made time distillation work in multiplayer. Sorry, time dilation, like slow mo and whatnot. How is it? Well, fuck you too. You literally cannot. You cannot be in UK. Like, look, can't even open fucking Unreal documentation. It's retarded. It's actually retarded. Like, it's beyond idiotic. Yeah, I mean, I have entire house on Surfshark these days. Like my TV, my phone, everything on Surfshark because it's you can't even open Imager. It's messed up. Ready to start match. I'm still not quite sure what the purple nodes are. I know that these are usually like in macros and what, but I haven't really. Yeah, I've not really looked that into it. Or is it a function? I'm not sure which one. Or maybe it's because I use overlay that I think it looks different. Oh yeah, so they're a function. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, then probably just because they look a bit alien because I'm using the flat nodes. Hmm. Okay, yeah, but that sort of confirms. In here, you want to run all the logic, spawning, and whatnot in the game mode. Okay, so I was on the right track with that. Yeah, that's shared information. Connected players. So basically, yeah, so basically this is a server-wide data storage. So my understanding of that was correct. So basically anything that's like non-player related would be stored in here. Although I guess if you had like a leaderboard, you would probably also store score per player in here, but also have it in player state, which would be later pulled into a UI. So basically, yes. Like I guess like in case of like Overwatch, this would be player state would be, hey, this is your accuracy so far. This is your, I don't know what other stats were like private in there. Yeah, I think accuracy was really the main one. Well, everything else would be like damage delta, what will be all be game state and player state, so that you can display it on UI, but also it can be used in server data processing. You know, maybe being like the yandere dev and just writing entire game in if statements is actually a blessing, you know? Maybe ignorance is a blessing. Match state. What the fuck is a match state? That's a new thing I haven't come across yet. Okay. The game mode makes sure that the match state functions of the game state are called and game states are allowed to use them on clients as well. Okay, match. I'm gonna have to look into those. Yes, that's something I've realized, which actually works fine in my case, but I guess that's gonna become a bit of a hang up in if you try to make like a big persistent world game like Witcher, for example. Because I can see that like at this point you're gonna have to build big part of structure, like the game. engine at its core doesn't seem to be very that well prepared for that, at least. Because a lot of it is the case, is like I say, is non-persistent. Okay. Are you excited for Unreal Engine 6? Now with AI. Okay, good AI. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, we're all going to reverse that. There's a quite interesting thing happening worldwide with actually deterioration of coding ability. A lot of programmers who ended up uh, a lot of programmers who ended up relying a lot on AI found themselves actually losing their ability over time. Okay, palette character. Those are basically just classes, hot widget. Spawn door is they will be owned by server. Yeah, oh yeah, that's true actually. I haven't considered that, but I don't know how that will work. Oh, but I wonder if this sort of connect, like the fact that stuff is owned by server and some things are owned by server, some are owned by client, is why Valorant had such issues to create a replay system for so long. Because they used to have some very, very big issues with that. Okay, I'm gonna have to look deeper into it if I will be getting into multiplayer at some point. But that's good. It's good to know that such resource exists. I'm actually gonna drop link. Oh, so this is not actually Unreal stuff. It's community created. Of course it's fucking community created because Unreal community that is absolute ass. Ah. Yeah, pretty much. But that's the thing, right? You have to come across the stuff because you go to Google and it's going to point you at the Epic's website. And then you walk to Epic's website, and like Epic's website tells you character controller function is a character controller function. Amazing. Game state is a game state. Ah, you don't fucking say. Incredible. Yeah, okay. Post it in here. So yeah, it's yeah. Right, on reset oh man, don't even get me started on YouTube tutorials. The amount of of bad information there is actually crazy. As player state, I want you to last checkpoint ID. No, I want to set last checkpoint ID to 0. And I mean, yeah, that is an issue. That's also why I'm struggling so much because I'm trying to like go through forums and whatnot, and you read stuff and like the same problem, people are describing 5 different ways to approach it. No, that's reasonable. I want to run on run start. Why do I want to run on no? I want to run bind on run start. No, I want to. No, I don't want to enable tick either. I don't want to use tick in actor. It's not really gonna run anyway because there's no event tick. But what I want to do is bind on run start. On begin play, we'll divide the tick, and then we run on run start. That binds this event. I could just call it get run start time. Get run start time. Okay. That will allow me to reset the timer in player state. But you know, that's everything. Like if you were to do, let's say, ZBrush, like learn how to do ZBrush and 3D modeling, there's so many things that is like obscure options or solutions for issues. Like for example, how do you do the inner part of the eyelids? People who know, they know. You basically hide half of the face and you enable double-sided rendering and you basically sculpt it from inside. But you only know that on is A, you're a freak, or you see someone else do that at one point. So there's a lot of cases like that. Or like another one, like in ZBrush, if you hold shift, you smooth. But if you skip smoothing and you release the shift, you switch a smoothing algorithm. There are people who use ZBrush for years. I have no idea about that. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so now check how I did hook this. Okay. Okay, so now you're contacting drone class. What I want you to do is okay. Instigation controller. Because in game mode I'm getting from your player state. Yeah, learning stuff while doing stuff is you keep running in circles so much. No, wait, it is controller. So why are you not allowing me to plug controller? That makes no sense. Control object reference. Control object reference. Okay, now it is fine. Um, in here, we're casting to character to get player. No. Oh yeah, this is we're casting if it is a player. Okay. Remote game mode base. So I assume this should return the game mode that's currently active. Now the question is, will it print? Will it work? Let's try it. Checkpoint reached. I will need to create a duplicate of you and call you checkpoint ID 1. So it's consecutive order. And now in rush game mode, where is it? You receive this data. I just want to make sure that you print this. Got checkpoint data. Let's see. Okay, got checkpoint data. That works. Okay, success. It's alive! That Unreal AI is awful. I was genuinely looking forward to it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna just wait a little bit. I'm doing this reading course. I'm gonna wait for Unreal 5.8. I usually try to like stay away from latest version, but that AI assistant, it will be fought on this maybe non-existing documentation, but maybe it will be good. It's shit. It gets shit wrong, but takes twice as long as Copilot to get shit wrong. So, what disappointment. I don't really know what features there are like in the new engines, to be fair. It's one of these things that are like, unless you already were very well experienced and know engine to a decent degree. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so now what I want to do is, if you are ranked checkpoint, we are calling character controller for wrong checkpoint. That is correct. Okay, so this is good. This is good. I think I should start color coding stuff as like green or something for when I know that this is correct. Okay. Yeah, I remember like there was I think when I was using 5.5 initially, there was some feature that was really broken. I rolled back and so that the code was working. So yeah, I understand. Get run start time. Okay, player start at respawn. Run progress. I'm calling run start in here. I should not be calling run start in here. Because that's global dispatch. Actually, no. I should call it. Wait, should I? Well, yes, because that synchronizes. That I can use this call to synchronize all the timers. So yes, I should call this. Okay, yeah. So basically now these two have start time. That's fine. Run restart. That spawns player, but it doesn't know which player to spawn. It just spawns player. That's a major issue I have. And in here, it dispatches wrong checkpoint, but it doesn't know which character to dispatch checkpoint to. Oh, this would be easier to do if I wasn't stupid and actually just promoted this to variable. And suddenly I'm calling it to the correct controller. Okay, so should be fine now. On checkpoint reached. In here we're updating time and last checkpoint in player state, which is fine because only player needs to know the time of the last checkpoint. Rock checkpoint, again, only player needs to know that controller. That data is stored in player state. Recorded time, not relevant. No, this is relevant. That's relevant for player state as well. Right, be right back. Okay. Need to get myself a cup of coffee. Okay, so what we got now is the system that I had previously, but now it should be done properly. Right, on recorded time. Where do I get recorded time? I want to send that recorded time to player state. So I want to have I also want to have best time. Okay, let's create a run start. Okay. That gives me best time, finish time, recorded time, current time. And in here, I want to say, where's my play game state? In here, I want to say time span. And I can call it best time. And the controller, and I can say best player. Okay. Okay, on finish. I want to use, where's recorded time? Where do I get the set recorded time? Last checkpoint. Oh. So on finish, I want to get control. No. Do I store player state somewhere? Yes. Okay, I want to take player state. And I want to get time. Player state starts recorded time. Wait. Okay. Where is this? I want to take player run start time and subtract it from now. I want to subtract it from now, and that will be stored as finish time. Set finish time. Mm. And now I want to run similar to in. Actually, I'm not running it anywhere yet. So can I use greater? Yes. Okay. So we're gonna do branch. And if you are greater than player state best time, I want you to set best time to finish time. No, if that's if supposed to be if it's less. Okay. So if player finish, we are getting now and reducing it for player rule start. Then not nice. If finish time is less than best time, we apply it best time. Otherwise, we just continue and do restart. On restart, no. On restart, I want to get this controller. And like, do I want to destroy actor? That's really the question. No. What I want is get pawn. I want to get control pawn and destroy your pawn. And now we're gonna reset run progress for this player. And we're going to set player start. How am I setting player start? We are getting player controller. But what I really want to get I have no idea why you're spawning here. Fuck off. If I'm going to do this, Okay, because we do possess. If I don't possess, what will happen? Oh. Okay, so basically that's because okay, now that explains a lot. Okay. Uh, my main concern here is like in here I'm literally spanning player 0. The problem is I would like to spawn it for this controller. The issue, I'm afraid, is that I feel like it will not try, it will fail to find this property. So what I need to do is basically like the issue with that is this uses player controller 0, so this is the client, local client. But what I want it is to get all player controllers. Okay, I think I have an idea of what I need to do. The issue is that this is what I'm doing on restart. On restart, I'm actually doing set player start. Set player start should be on run start. So let's say this is that. Actually, what I could do is get non-player controllers, and then for loop. No, I think I should go from 0 to last index, and that way I can get this. Okay, this worked. And this worked because it ran through all of the controllers. No, it didn't work. Possessed in the fire. Access now trying to read real property, get controller. Return value is not a class. And no, it does seem to work. It does spawn me in the right direction. Unless I'm going to try to run this -1. Because there is a chance that it's trying to display there's a one player controller, so it tries to contact. Yeah, okay, I think this is what happens. It basically tries to find 0 and last index 1. So that basically will spawn all the player controllers. But this is bad, because I should not be getting this value in here. Instead, I should be getting controller as input. And that should be stored as local variable at start, so I can pull it at the end. Just call it controller. Not you. Okay, so now we're basically gonna spawn actor on the checkpoint and possess him for this controller. That means the controller that means this function that we can call where is this function? Spawn actor, call start, reset all checkpoint, set player start. Here, we need to have a controller. That means I can run this function in here. And that can be collapsed to fn get all players. And then as a return, I want to return controller. That means you should output A, push B, push C, push, get all these values. this can be a pure function here. Does this work? Yes. That means in here, rather than saying set player start, and then I can use this as a controller. And this is what's gonna happen. Nothing. Why? Because it's not set to finish. See what's gonna happen to what if I set it to finish. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, something doesn't work. Access not trying to real. Set total checkpoints. Rush game mode. Where are you struggling? Get finished checkpoints. In here we're running total checkpoints. Total checkpoints. We're getting now. Checkpoint actor. In here, in player state. Interesting. Why have you why have you managed to access none? Oh, I understand why. Where is this happening? Here. Okay. As player state, in best if I just get this function. Check spawn player, get all players, and I'm going to get player state and return this value. Okay. Gameplay. No. Event graph here. BP game state. But player state is not defined. Okay, so that means I should probably cast to all of these player states. Get finished checkpoint. cast to BP. Actually, what am I running first? I'm first running. I guess this should be fine. Okay, this is weird because you should be able to access BP state. Because yeah, this is something I'm storing at the start of the game here. Okay. Maybe it's because I'm running that after. Yeah, okay, that seems fine. Oh, but why have I not been spawned at the right location? Interesting. So if I do it this way, the order breaks. Why? Why does it break if I do it this way? Here we get game state. And I just set game state before I run the rest of the script. Then we set player start. I'm getting all players. What if I get controller? What if I just run this? Okay, it ignores this. Okay, the issue is that this does not. Game doesn't let me print string. Okay, why does casting break? What's gonna happen if I do this? Yeah, this will not work. What's happening in start checkpoint? I'm getting In here, I'm running through all checkpoints of class. First, I'm running get start checkpoint, and we're checking if the checkpoint actor has start. If you do, we set start checkpoint. I think that start checkpoint should be on player state. Actually, I can bring back to start location. No. Okay, so I'm going to run start actor, set start actor for controller. And then I'm gonna pull that checkpoint ID. Okay, I'm setting player start for the player. So in here then, I want to run spawn at target. But in reality, I want to get I just put spawn at okay. Now what's your problem? What fucking what bothers you? Rush game mode. Let's see, event graph. If I do this before this, it doesn't have spawn active location. Non-try to read property as player state. Okay. Access to none. Okay, the issue is with the order. Let's see. On begin play, we do on game start. And on game start, I run set player start. Okay, that's a problem. Now, first we list all checkpoints, then we set player start. So first we run through this. List all checkpoints, get all these details. We set this, but I do not set this. I think the issue might be that think once I have this data, like I should maybe get update all players. No. Yes, I'm gonna call it. Okay, we're gonna get all players. Okay, you update all players state. It will still give me error if you reach this. Where is the issue? Well, that makes sense because I'm running this before I'm setting game state. So let's say if I run this now we should be able to set game state. Yes, you are setting game state. Okay. The real question is, why are you not spawning me at the correct location? I do have total checkpoints. Let's see start checkpoint. The question, why are you not spawning me there now? I was going to start. Because it's not, its server is not on in game world. We will not play it. Why are you not spawning character? What if I was to set player? What if I said get player controller? Okay, you're still not doing that. What could be the problem? What's I want to just spawn you at 0. Will spawn me at 0. Okay. Actually, yeah, the issue is that it should at least spawn character. But it doesn't. It's simply not spawning the character. Why are you not spawning character? You're supposed to list all checkpoints. And then you're supposed to set player start. And then that means you should go and git transforms. Wait, what am I doing? This doesn't do anything. As player state, you spawn the actor, spawn adductor. You should get line trace to the ground and then spawn this character. And then look through actors to possess it. Then we call run start. Oh, but we call run start then. Oh, but that only really means record start time. And in game mouse state, begin play. Also, yeah, we just start time, that's all.
One thing I wish I knew earlier that would have saved me hours and even days of debugging time and would have helped me keep my screen from ending up with a jungle of print strings that I didn't know where they came from is to learn how to debug my games efficiently. You see, print string is not bad at all. It's just that there's a bunch of other tools that can make debugging a much easier process, save us a lot of time and headaches, and help us efficiently answer the one important question when it comes to debugging. What in my code base is causing that bug to happen? And that can be only answered efficiently if we know our debugging tools and how to use them, and more importantly, when to use them. So, for the past couple of weeks, I started learning about debugging tools in Unreal Engine from different resources that you can find in the description below. These tools can save both me and you much time and make debugging a much fun process. So today, we're gonna take a deep dive at what these tools are, how to use them, and more importantly, when to use them, using the StackOpod sample in Unreal 5.3 for demonstration so we have something to debug. You can get it from the Epic Launcher, so feel free to download it and follow along with me. So, let's get started right away. Let's say, when we start playing, for some reason our bot, let's call him Orangey, is not spawning at the spawning pad as he should by default. We are new to the project, and we don't know where to start from. But we know it should be happening at begin play, right? So, we could add a print string in any classes begin play with Orangey's location. But that wouldn't help us much, as we still don't know the cause, or where Orangey is getting spawned in the first place. What we could do better when we are interested at a specific moment of execution and what led to it or what happens after it is to set a breakpoint and use the debugger. In Blueprints, we can quickly identify Orangey's class from the world settings game mode or from the outliner. Then set a breakpoint at its begin play by selecting the node and pressing F9 or right-clicking and adding 1. Now let's play and wait for this breakpoint to be hit. Once it's hit, our game pauses and we can open the Blueprint debugger from Tools Debugging tab. Here we can see the call stack and Dataflow tab. Let's ignore the call stack tab for now and go to the Dataflow tab, in which we can select Orangey's class and select all existing Orangey objects with all their properties. If we go to its root component, the capsule in this case, we can see its relative location is at 0, 0, 0, which means that Orangey is spawning at the wrong location. He's spawning at the world origin and not the spawning path. But that eliminates checking for other things like ground collision or checking if something is affecting his location at runtime after he's being spawned. We narrowed down our search to finding where and how he's getting spawned. Now let's get back to the call stack and see what led to this. Unfortunately, it doesn't help us much in this case, since we can't show native C++ code. So let's add more breakpoints at another events we are sure are going to be hit when we start playing. The onPossessed and receive restarted events are 2 points we are sure are going to be called when we start playing. If we play again and look at the call stack now, just before this begin play, we can see the spawn function that caused that. Aha! Seems like somebody forgot to connect the spawning transform node intentionally.
Yeah, basically, thanks. Yeah, basically, I'm having an issue where I change how some things work, and now, for whatever reason, characters stop spawning at the checkpoint, and I have no idea why. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, how to debug it properly, because I'm sick of using print string. It's unfortunately very cumbersome. And it doesn't print from the game mode, which defeats the point completely.
So, since this was an interesting place we might need to get back to often, we can add a blueprint book.
I don't have player start. That's the thing. I don't have a player start location. What I wanted to try doing initially was it would spawn a pawn at a checkpoint location, because that is flexible. And one error I was running into is that it seems like whenever I tried to move the player start, I was getting an error that player start is an immovable class. So I basically circumvented that by spawning a pawn and possessing it. The issue is it stops spawning pawn at the start checkpoint.
Mark from the top left of our event graph and give it a descriptive name to get back to it later. Once our issue is solved, we can simply disable all breakpoints with a click. The same process we made can be done in C++ with more advantages. To demonstrate those advantages, I made a C++ character class and reparented Orange's class to it. One of these advantages is that we can set a conditional breakpoint. For example, to let it only trigger if our spawn location is 0 in case someone messed up spawning location at any time. We need to be in a debug configuration to be able to set those conditional breakpoints. Another advantage we have in C++ is that we can redo some code or pay boss exceptions by dragging the execution arrow. We can also show the blueprint call stack directly from C++ by using this command in the immediate window. But for that to work, we need to have Unreal installed from source, which I don't have. So another equivalent for printing the call stack in blueprints is due the stack trace function, which prints the call stack to the output log. Now let's see another example where the camera seems to be off. If the game's still running and when we stop playing, we can see a couple of error messages. Sometimes these error messages are hard to read and we don't know what to do with them. What we can do better to get meaningful info from warnings and blueprint exceptions is to set 2 settings in every project we work on. The first one is showing the stack that caused any error or warning. This can be done by adding this line to default engine.ini. Now if we reproduce the issue and look at the output log, we can get more useful info on what led to that error or warning message. The second editor preference we should always enable is breaking on exceptions. This makes the game immediately break and stop at any time we hit an exception, so we don't have to do any investigation at all and be greeted with a couple of error messages when we end our play session. In this example, every time we spawn a new bot by pressing F, there is an animation playing that we have to wait for. To increase our testing time, we can disconnect or rewire these animation nodes. But later on, we might forget what was connected to what and mess up our code. So, instead of disconnecting or rewiring nodes, we can speed that up by enabling node disabling from editor preferences. This is similar to commenting out code in C++. which is a common thing we usually do when we want to disable the impact of some code to quickly debug something. This is also useful when we want to make some nodes for
Why
debugging.
is this not a thing on by default? What the fuck? Why is this not a thing by default? Is this it? So
In
this
Go
explicit node disabling.
We can speed that up by enabling node
Yeah.
disabling from editor preferences. This is similar to commenting out code in C++, which is a common thing we usually do when we want to disable the impact of some code to quickly debug something.
There's one thing that that bothers me, which confuses the hell out of me in here, because like the odd part is if I do game start without casting to game state, it actually seems to work. Well, okay, it seemed to work. It worked earlier. Now it's fucked. But yeah, that's camera like yeah, I mean it does try to put you, but it's even if it didn't work, the point is it still ran this set player start. It still set player start. You know, it didn't pull you from the camera. It just put you at the wrong location. It put you at the wrong location because start checkpoint location I think it's starting player start, which it shouldn't be. It's not actually. No, it's not. It start in player state because this is per player. So I'm really confused as to why that happened. Yeah, that's what I need to finish. Which
is also useful when we want to make some nodes for debugging or development only that we don't want in a ship build. But let's ensure we don't forget to enable the ones we need in a ship build. Now, at many times, we want to test something at runtime, but it's hard to reproduce, or there's some overhead to it that we want to eliminate to be able to iterate quicker. Similar to commenting out nodes, the following tools can help us change and control the game state at runtime. In this example, we wish to test one of the moving platforms to ensure the player can reach it. But there is some overhead we have to do to activate the platform first. One thing we can do to bypass activation is to use call and editor functions. If we open the moving platform's blueprint, we can create a function to enable interaction and mark it as call and editor. Now, at runtime, we can eject using F8 and call that function from the details of any platform we want. But since call and editor functions can't have parameters, they are a little bit limited. A more powerful tool we can use to increase testing times and control game state at runtime is the cheat manager. We can, for example, create a single cheat to activate all platforms at once, or another cheat to change our pod's jumping velocity, or anything we want. And to do that, we need to create a child blueprint from cheat manager and ensure we use it in our player controller. We can create our functions and ensure we mark them as exec. This exec specifier is what allows us to call them from the console command window. In C++, we can have another benefit or advantage of giving cheats friendly names. For example, we can use the dot notation and name a cheat something like cheat.player.setVelocity or cheat.platform.activate all platforms or whatever we want. And we can do that using the override native name metaspecifier. But since this metaspecifier is deprecated in UE5, I found a free plugin called MetaCheat Manager that allows doing that, which can be found in the description below. Now let's say it takes us very long to reach the highest platform to test something. What we can do instead of playing and trying to reach that platform or changing the player's start location is to use yet another powerful tool that I'm sure you have used before if you pressed on the semicolon key, the debug camera. We can open the debug camera either by pressing the semicolon or typing the console command toggle debug camera. We can then fly to where we want, then type the console command teleport to instantly get orangey to where our camera is looking. We can also toggle the HUD that comes with the debug camera with backspace to take screenshots, for example. Last tip is that we can also extend the debug camera to create our own functionality. Here I created a child from debug camera controller, overrode its on actor selected to draw a debug arrow if we hit a moving platform, and used it in my cheat manager. Now, let's talk about the most commonly used debugging tool, the print string. Whoever tells you it's bad, don't listen to them. I just hate that we misuse it sometimes. For example, printing a meaningless word like hello to know if something is getting executed or not. And even worse, forgetting to delete it, and later on ending up with tons of print messages spamming the screen. Instead,
Yeah,
I like to
I
use
know
print
that one.
strings when I need to know the value of something that's continuously updating and is hard to debug with breakpoints. Not if something is getting executed or not the value of a property at a specific moment. I use breakpoints for that. So, let's see how we can utilize print string and get the most out of it by debugging a continuous value like the player movement. Here we are printing some movement data whenever the player presses the movement input. But you can see how it's spamming our
Yeah,
screen
when I look
and
into
is
those,
hard to track. What
breakpoints
we
look
can do
interesting,
instead
and it's something
is
that
to
I'm
create
basically
our custom print
that
string
I'm
and
in
ensure
need
we use
of
it throughout
now.
our project.
Because I
Here
have
I
to
made
see
a
where
blueprint
the shit
function
breaks
library for
and
easier
why.
access. I added the debug print function to it with some parameters. An object parameter to represent who is the sender of the message, to give it more context and to know where it was called from. Then two booleans to determine what is the verbosity of the message, which changes both the color of the message to avoid having a jungle of colors, and also the color of the message in the output log, which we can control by prefixing the message with the word warning or error. Another boolean parameter to determine if we should print log and keep this information for later or not, which we should disable if we are printing on tick to avoid wasting memory. Then we use the key parameter, which prevents spamming the screen. If two messages use the same key, it keeps only the last one instead of writing to a new line. One last important step to complete our setup is to create a global switch that we can toggle from anywhere to enable or disable debugging prints. Here I used a blueprint interface for easier access with an isDebugging enabled function and implemented that interface in my game instance. So now I can turn debugging on or off from a single location. What we could do even better in C++ is to use a console command variable, aka a cvar, which we can control its value from the console command. Here I created a blueprint function library C++ class and added the debug print function, exactly similar to what we did in blueprints, but the only difference is that here we have a global console command variable defined on top of our CPP like this. And inside the function, we fetch that console command variable and check its value before printing. Now, our printing is no longer spamming the screen. We can toggle it on and off so easily at runtime by setting our previously created console command variable. If you don't want to create a cvar or can't access C++ in your project, a good command to know of is disable all screen messages or enable all screen messages. Since we mentioned printing to log in the past example, let's start talking about logging. Logging is very useful when we want to track important information in detail and keep it for later. If we open the output log, we can see it wrote many lines, each with a certain verbosity, like warning or error, and a certain category, like log temp and log animation. But it gets hard to read sometimes, so we can do some filtering. We can either filter by categories and choose the categories we care about only, or we can filter by verbosity and show, for example, warnings or errors only. We can also change the verbosity of some categories at runtime to let some categories only write warnings or errors to the log, for example. We can do that with the command log, then the category's name, and then the new verbosity. Another neat thing we can do in C++ is to define our custom logging category instead of using the well-known logtemp, which can be done with some macros like this one. Despite that, our new debug print function was a good improvement, yet there's a couple of things I don't like about it. What if we have more debug printing for different systems other than movement? For example, debugging camera information or information about different platforms. We'll see all these print statements at once, and we won't be able to filter them without creating new console variables. But now we will have to remember the names of those variables. Another thing I hate is that if debugging is turned off, our debugging function is still running and checking continuously if we should be printing or not. And the last thing that I hate is that our logic code may end up filled with debug code and a bunch of print statements thrown everywhere. So, what can we do better? When we want to debug complex continuously updating data, is not to reinvent the wheel and use the gameplay debugger. I'm sure you might have used this one when you try to debug AI. You can enable it with the apostrophe key or with the command enable GDT. So let's see how can we define our custom category to debug movement or camera data in our example. We simply need to inherit a C++ class from fGameplay debugging category and override its different functions to initialize it, collect the data we want to debug, and draw or print the data. We need to ensure that we register and unregister our category, which can be done in our game module's startup and shutdown functions. I used a separate module here, since I couldn't get it to work with the main project module for some reason. More info about implementation details can be found in the description below for this one and for all the other tools. Now, if we open the gameplay debugger, we can see our categories and toggle them with a single key that we don't have to remember. Yet another powerful tool that we can use when we want to debug continuously updating data that I wish I knew about earlier is the visual logger. The visual logger has two advantages over the gameplay debugger, and that is the ability to view recorded visuals and to log.
Okay, you know what? First I'm going to try to see how does this breakpoint work. I want to understand how that works. Checkpoint watch game. Let's see what's gonna happen if I do this. Toggle breakpoint. Let's see, I create a breakpoint. What's gonna happen if I do this? Nothing. Why? What should happen if I do breakpoint? Let's start with that. Okay, so I was okay, so it's exactly it's supposed to do what I expected it to do. So technically, if I was to, let's say, to pause it at begin play, like technically this should be the first thing that happens. Like the very thing that happens, for example, should be it should set this value. Yeah, this is confusing to me. Why are you not working? Like basically this is game mode and begin play. Let's see, I want to try to do it on player base. Let's see, let's say I'm going to do this. And it's not pointing, it's not stopping, and like, you know, this clearly works. But I don't have anything happening. Let's see. Let's say on jump I want to run this and that's what happened. Huh. Definitely gets triggered. But I also know that like sometimes when you, I'm not sure why, but like sometimes I can tell that 100%. Yeah, 100% is the one. Yeah, character base 100% is. Yep. If I click on it, that's what opens. Oh, now it worked. Wait, how? Why does it not work before? If it's the same class. That's confusing. Well, you know, it's an AI powered Unreal Engine 5.8, you know, got nothing on it. Okay, but now it works. Okay. It seems like in some weird way it was not, it was, yeah, I think it is. It seems like it's okay if you open that blueprint from inside of the class, like from inside, like if you have it in scene and you open that, but no, it shouldn't. It should work either way. Yeah, no, that's weird. It shouldn't have been misbehaving. But at the same time, I know that like in Unreal, I used to always be able to see the nodes, but sometimes it glitches and. Okay, so let's see. I do on game start. Okay, that didn't trigger. Yeah, something's weird. No, no, it. Oh, why do you fail on cast? It fails to get a game state. Why are you failing to get game state? I'm putting it so early in so I can see if the thing actually works, you know? Like the reason why I put it in here is because I want to see like does it actually even work? Does it trigger? That's why I put it in so early. Okay, why are you why do you not have a game state? Like game mode should create game state when the game starts, right? Okay. Begin play. Okay, why you don't allow me? Yes. Yes, it is. Game state base, but I have a game. I created my own game state. I wonder who's parent of my game state. What I'm trying to figure out now is why I still feel like it's failing me on the breakpoint. It should actually run this. I don't know why it's failing me on the breakpoint. Like I can do like let's say delay one tick until next tick, and then I could have, let's say, a set variable. Oh, I see what you mean, but the issue is that it's not like this should fire. This is a game mode. This is like on start of a game mode. Mixing game state with game mode base. Oh, I think I see where the problem is. I think the problem is that in here it's using game mode base, not game mode, but I'm using game state. Yeah, I got no here. Mixing game state with games mode base is not compatible. Change game mode base subclass to derive from game mode or make both derive from base. Okay. Okay, let's say I'm doing this, and then in here I'm gonna derive from BP state. Now it works. Now I can remove all of these breakpoints that were doing nothing. And I can actually start looking into what's actually happening. Okay, that explains a lot, basically. It was pulling data from a game state that it didn't actually use. That was breaking everything. Then now this should return me. So I guess now I don't actually have, I mean, in that case, I should even now need to cast to game state inside of this game mode. But I don't think that changes a lot. But now the default game mode is default game state is the game state I wanted. Player state on the other hand should be fine. Accessing none, trying to read player as a get start checkpoint. Oh, because this is not established here. Debugging is fun. Yeah, that makes sense that you don't have a player state. Or is it? Right. In here we get opponent actor. Okay, in here what I'm having problem with is that it's failing to access player state. And that makes sense because this is on game start. We set player start. I also need to store location. Which would work fine if I did this. Get player state. Maybe this is no, that's the player state. works. Okay. Okay, so I think this will be better if I instead search with the player state. Then I can just get this. Yes, basically the issue was that it was pulling the wrong values, and then it tried to pull controller instead of state. So I have to refactor some aspects. But yes, it works now. It works. Well, not right now because I'm changing some tidbit, but yeah, I got it to work basically. Uh, state. But I will have to learn how to use all these debug tools because it's necessary. Right now, this should be fine. This is fine because in here I can just add player state. Like that. And now I should be getting player state, and it broke again. But this should be fine. I mean, that's because I'm not connecting it here. Okay. Get instigator value controller. Good. Yeah, it works now. Cool. Progress. Is this code cleaner? I don't know. I feel like it's. I feel like it's. On one hand, I feel like it's absolute mess. On the other hand, I can tell it's got a really good structure now, where like things belong when they're supposed to belong, and things are only casting in a way that makes sense. Like for example, game mode casts so like player state and game state, which always exist together, which actually makes sense. And then like that will be a bridge and whatnot. Uh, but yeah, we can only hope. We can only hope. But it's like it just feels like on one hand, I have feeling in my head that it's one big fucking spaghetti. At the same time, I think, you know what? Actually, this is pretty clean. And I don't quite know how I can have both of these feelings at the same time, given that they're actually mutually exclusive. Yeah, that like when I was doing Stephen Ulibarri's course, his attitude was that code should document itself. So when you come back to it sometime later, you're supposed to be able to look at it and tell what it does. I think that's a really good way to approach that. Okay, that means it's working now. That means this part of it is fine. I'm at the mindset of comment large blocks of code because those are easy, because this is easy to read, you know? Like on checkpoint reached, I want to know what this block does without going on time recorded and so on. Which actually should be on checkpoint reach. Consistency for terminology though. That's not an easy way to do, to be honest. Keeping all this stuff consistent. Am I using this controller anywhere? Mm, yes, I am. Do I need to have set the controller value? No. I can just use player state and get player controller. What do you do, by the way? I guess you work in games then, because you seem quite knowledgeable on Unreal. Like, are you triple A or indie or mobile? Ah, that's nice. I'm working in mobile. Uh, our project has been in development for 6 years. It's about to launch in 6 months. For past 3 years, it's great. You know what? Maybe it's a good money if you're at the top of the chain, you know, but as art, it's about the same as everywhere else. Okay, total checkpoints. Now I want to see why finish doesn't work anymore. What does this mean? Register component world. Games and default scene root. Try to register component in invalid or cleaned up world. Aborting. Copilot. Tell me what can I make out of it? Oh, okay. It's trying to register a coupon after the word is already shutting down before it initialized. Uh, how can that happen? Oh, maybe. If I'm still gonna get that. I mean, I would say no. It's all it's it all depends on what you want to do. Like in my case, I want to make stuff myself and eventually maybe open something. That's my goal. Like my goal is to not have to wake up in the morning and do the full-time job, genuinely. Or not even that. Is to not have to wake up in the morning and go to work for someone else's Ferrari. Uh, okay, then in here, list all checkpoints. I don't think I need to wait. Register component with world. Transient was my level. Yeah, but at least it's rewarding, right? At least it's not. At least it's fun. Oh, okay, but it doesn't. Oh, it does have a default scene route. Does that mean it should exist in the game world? Oh, it has a scene. One could argue, but I don't think it's a class that can belong in a world. Why are we getting this issue? I mean, I imagine a lot of the tools you use are transferable, right? I have very mixed feelings on plugins. On one hand, I feel like it's a really good way to do it. On the other hand, you have Maya, which is all plugins. It's I hate using Maya. True, but Maya left me jaded. That's a Maya just left me very jaded. Mm. Okay, but this one also they both have scene root, which makes sense because I guess they in a way exist in a game world. They're not components. The weird part about this, like, I get this error where I'm trying to compile the code, so it's not even in the runtime. In fact, in runtime I don't have it. The only runtime issue I get is that Nanite mesh has a wrong material. So like, whatever, don't care. So I guess I shouldn't worry about it. So it doesn't break anything. But I'm not sure why I'm getting this error while trying to compile, because it still compiles successfully. Although I guess it says it's just trying to register component cleaned up the world, which makes sense because it's the game's actually off. So maybe just how it was when it's compiling. Okay. You know what? I think I had enough work today. I think I spent like 6 hours on it. I need to go have a break. Wife wanted to watch Spider-Man Noir as well, so there's that. No? Oh no. Well, it seems to compile fine, and that the error only ever shows up when I'm compiling. So, okay, what's gonna happen if I was to like just kill this? Okay, still persists. If I was to leave, still persists, and here everything in this code starts from begin play. Yeah, still happens. It might be one of these. Restart the engine and it'll be fine. One thing I would like to do today, if I have energy for it, is look into at least partially what is happening when I finish. Yeah, it could be. Might as well. Unfinish. We get value if last checkpoint is finished checkpoint ID. But finish checkpoint ID needs to be pulled from game state. Okay, so let's do 1, 2, and 3. And this goes going to be 3. No, wait, that's 0, 1. So you're not finished. 1, 2. Okay, this is fine. Okay, for whatever reason, this is not firing. Player state, last checkpoint ID. So the issue is that it's not matching this value. One issue I'm having is that you cannot print from inside of like a game state or game mode. Or at least I couldn't earlier because things didn't work. Maybe it will work now because it was actually not calling the right state. Yeah, I think it was issue with the code, and that's why I felt like I couldn't. Let's see, total checkpoints. I want to print this value. You're telling me 2, so I mean check 0, 1. Okay, 1. I need to have another one in player state. So I want you to print me last checkpoint ID. Okay, so you print me 0 and here. Okay, let's go. Oh, okay. Why are you not updating this value? Well, actually, is player state even firing? Yes, it is. Okay, player state is firing. But I'm plugging into no. That's the wrong one. Yeah, I know that. It's very useful. Okay. Tick is disabled. That explains why this didn't fire. Now it should do. Okay, so we're on 0. Now it should be on 1. Now it didn't work. Why it didn't work? That's a question. Let's say you are not finished, but it's your number 2. Okay. Oh, really? Okay, so it seems like it only updates checkpoint once. Why? Actually, there's another thing I want to see. Let's say I'm gonna make few checkpoints. It's gonna be 4, okay. I'm on 1, okay, that's fine. That's 2. Wrong checkpoint. Why are you wrong checkpoint? Oh, because this is not calling. Okay, checkpoint ID should be pulling from player state as last checkpoint. You know what? I fucking love breakpoints. Oh my god. How did I ever live without it? Okay, 1, 2, 3. And now we got wrong checkpoint, which is interesting, but I can see that as me forgetting to change the name. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Why are you not firing that? 0. Oh, because for whatever reason now you don't see the total the total checkpoints in scene. Why are you not seeing total amount of checkpoints in scene? It was supposed to be easy. Why are you not getting total checkpoints? Let's see. List begin play. I'm gonna just check if I'm definitely getting that file. Okay, yeah, I am checking for the start. So I get all actors and we go to checkpoint actor. And am I trying to get total? Yes. Am I setting it? No. Oh, because I haven't had it set as finish. Okay. Now we got it working. And that responds me. Yes, it's working again. Okay, it was easy. Good. Big progress. Big progress. I've done absolutely nothing that didn't exist yesterday, but today is done properly. So, and I think I learned quite a lot. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching, man. I really appreciate, uh, well, your help. To be honest, it was great. But I'm gonna head off for today. I'll be around tomorrow, probably in the morning, then some more in the afternoon. I'll catch you later. Have a good night. Have a nice day, man. Or well, good evening, or whatever time zone you're in.